Guys, we're going to start this morning and get our product knocked off of the bumper that we put on the other day to fill all the gouges and the few little low spots. I'll always start with a machine to take the beginning part of my product off, especially the little bit of a sticky layer that's on the outside that really clogs up sandpaper. There's no point in wasting all your time and energy using a hand block on something like that. So I'll take a machine, get the sticky part off, I'll switch down to 180 and finish it as close as I can without absolutely making sure I don't go too far, and then I'll finish up real quick with a hand block. We're trying to save time at this point, you know. The quicker we work, the more money we make, so there's no point in just hand blocking constantly. I know sometimes when you're taught, I have you hand block from the beginning, but that's because you're still learning how to use a block and figure out what's straight and what's not straight. Once you develop that skill a little bit better, you want to use a machine to help speed you up. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that right now. If you notice, I always try to use my leg to brace whatever it is I'm working on so it doesn't try to run away from me and scoot all over the place. Right now I have 80 on here, an old worn out piece of 80, so it's not real sharp. I don't want to go any farther than this until I switch to 180 because I don't want to have these deep gouges in my bumper cover like that. So once I switch to a 180, we'll be able to take those out and not have any of that fuzzy stuff or those deep gouges we need to try to fill with primer or another product. All right, so at this point now we're switching to 180. I got all the shiny sticky off of it, and let me show you the reason why I do it that way. Because if you look at this piece of 80, all the resins that come to the top of the product that we put on, which are sticky, really clog up paper. The more aggressive 80 will get that off without destroying the paper. I did the whole bumper with the one sheet and it was already used. If you use 180, it's just going to clog it up really fast and then you're not going to get any cut out of it. Now that those resins are removed, now we can straighten it with 180 and not have really aggressive scratches in our bumper cover. guys remember, the tool I'm using is not a DA like you all are used to feather edging with. This is a DA 9600, so it operates just like a DA 900. It has the capability of making things straight and flat. It doesn't just feather paint away. So I can actually straighten with this just like I would with a 900. You can absolutely do the same thing with a 900. It's just a little bit bigger and a little bit more aggressive, and that's why I choose to use this on a small bumper cover. National Detroit is the company that made the DA 900, the regular DAs, all the tools that we use these days. This is a National Detroit 9600. If you look, it says National Detroit. They went out of business about 10 years ago, and the company called Dynabraid bought them out, or bought most of the licensing for their products, or their tools that they manufactured. Everything we use now, and most of my stuff is made by Dynabraid. Like I said, this is an older tool that I have that I like to use. Dynabraid makes the DA 900s, and they make regular DAs. I do not know if they're making a 9600 anymore. So you may not even be able to purchase a tool like this anymore. If you find that you can get a model 9600, it's a great investment. It's going to be probably close to the same price as a 900, but there's really nothing better if you really want to use something small that's going to make things straight. All right, so after we use our machine to get as much of our product off as we can, we go ahead and finish up by hand. Everything should always be finished by hand to give it that smooth, straight finish, and for you to have the ability to really check over your work. I'll give you some information while we were in between. Rosalinda did look up the 9600. Dynabraid does make it. I think it was $380, which sounds like a lot, but I tell you what, it's a hell of an investment, especially if you like using that smaller tool. You know, the DA900 has the big 8-inch pad, where the 9600 is a 6-inch pad, and that makes a really big difference when you're trying to work on a small area. But it is something that's going to make things straight for you, and it will really make your work look a lot better. You should never try to do that with a regular DA. You can see all our gouges are filled, and I'm not really breaking all the way through down to the plastic where I needed them to be filled. We want them to, you know, if I break all the way through to the plastic, we're still going to have a little ridge. So we don't want to go too far. Remember right here, this is where our great big scrape with a low spot in it was. So we want to get it straight as we can, and we always want to make sure we feel it. You have to be really aware when you're doing a rubber bumper, the difference in texture between the bumper cover and the product. The product's always going to feel a little bit smoother. And we'll still go back over this with a little DA with some 320 to get rid of all this fuzzy stuff that can come from using 180 grit. And right here, like where there's a little bit of slop laying there, when I go over it with the 320 on the little DA, I'll just clean that up because that doesn't need to be there, but I don't want to waste my time sanding it away when I can do it with a machine. Huh?
Keep it flat.
Okay, so our work is pretty much straight now. Switching to a regular DA, going to a 320 grit. I want to go around and hit everything and get a little bit of the fuzziness off and clean it up. I'm also going to look for additional chips, marks in the clear from hitting bugs and rocks going down the road and things like that that I want to feather out before we put primer on the bumper cover. But you'll notice and pay real close attention, this DA runs completely different than the other DA does. See how it spins? It oscillates. It goes in all a bunch of different directions, where the 9600 just spins in one flat circle. See how it bounces all over the place? The 9600 just stays straight in one circle, one rotation. That's why this tool can't make something straight. It's just good for feather edging. See those little dots? Those are the stone chips, and what they actually do when it gets hit, it makes a little indentation in the rubber. You can see that's why when I feather the chip away, the gold is still there because it actually pushed the rubber down in a little bit. So I'm going to sand it just a little bit more, and then when we primer will actually take care of that minor little indentation. That's the kind of thing that nobody wants to pay you for when you're doing an insurance repair or repair, all those little chips. But if you don't fix those when you paint your bumper cover, it's going to look terrible. You're going to see them. So you have to feather that stuff out and fix it, whether or not they give you any extra time to do it or not. Otherwise, your work's going to not look up to snuff. It's not going to be of a good quality. Okay guys, so now if you can take a quick look at this bumper, it's got areas almost all over it that we've sanded with 320 and feather edged out, stuff like that. So instead of trying to tape some few minor areas off, on this bumper we're going to opt, on the other bumper, as you saw, we taped a lot of things off because we didn't want to get primer all over it. On this bumper, it's going to be much easier for us at this point to go ahead and prep the entire bumper and then just prime it and not have to worry about taping anything off. So if you notice, Rosalinda is feathering it out with 800 and just sanding the whole rest of the bumper down with 800. That way when we prime it, we don't have to do anything. It's good to go, and it'll be primed. We'll sand down our primer and then it'll be ready to paint. So she's just going to feather all the rest of the bumper. Remember, we don't want to have any area where there's any shiny paint or unsanded paint left. So she's going to do what she can with a machine, and then we'll go around it with a Scotch-Brite, a gray Scotch-Brite, to make sure all the edges and corners and all the little areas in here where you can't get a machine, well, that way they'll all be scuffed and sanded as well, and we won't have any problem with our paint or our paint work not sticking properly to the bumper cover. All right? So we ran over the bumper cover with our DA with 600, 800, whatever we chose, with a metallic color. Sometimes 800 is a little better, but we're going to be priming the whole bumper cover, so it's not too big of a deal for us right now. A lot of painters will use wax and grease remover with a scratch pad when they go around and do the edges. Me, I don't like to, because it keeps things really shiny and I can't see the spots that I may not have sanded well enough. I'm looking for that dull finish or that dull look in the paint when I'm scratch padding everything. So we're going to go around now, hit all our edges in here, our top areas here, up where the grill goes. Always want to make sure you hit the bottom corner back here, in where the little grills and fog lights go. All that shiny area that's still there, we still have to address. So we want to get all that sanded really good, and then we'll be ready to prime the bumper cover.